If you watch my theory on the cursed swords, you'd remember that I said this. Haki can translate to spirit. Well, it gets deeper than that. Haki can be translated as supreme chi. Supreme is just a self-explanatory adjective, so we don't have to go into that. Chi is what we need to focus on. Let's take a look at the Chi Encyclopedia. The birth, aging, and death of all things within heaven and earth, including wind, clouds,
thunder, rain, water, mountains, forests, deserts, oceans, humans, animals, and insects,
are caused by and formed out of Chi. Although energy may appear to take on many different forms, all things in nature, and in fact all things in the universe, are intrinsically woven together so that we are, quite literally, all symbiotically one with the universe through the system of Chi. A lot of people think that Haki is just the name of some techniques, but really it's a concept. And with any concept, there's more to discover and understand. In Dragon Ball, you have Ki. In Naruto, you have Chakra. In Bleach, you have Rei-Ryoku. Hunter x Hunter has Nen, and so forth. They are all the same thing under different names, understood as different concepts, and different applications given to each laws of their universes. In fact, in One Piece itself, Haki has 2 alternative names, because other societies know it by their own given terms. I believe a fair question to ask would be, why call it Haki instead of just Ki, like in Dragon Ball? Well, isn't it obvious? It's Oda's subtle way of saying his story is better than Toriyama's.
Psych!
The real reason I think it's called Supreme Ki is because regular Ki itself is already a thing in One Piece. Allow me to clarify. Ki from Dragon Ball universe is unrealistic because, as you and I know, you can't shoot energy beams from your palms. I believe that the Ki from One Piece is pretty much the same as the Ki as it's described in real life. Also note, Ki and Chi are the same thing, and Chi can be written as Chi, although it's properly spelled Qi. In Dragon Ball, realistic Ki and the exaggerated Ki are all one. I believe One Piece splits it up into 2. You have just plain old Ki, just like it is IRL, and then you have Haki, which is the supernatural version of Ki, hence why it would be known as Supreme Ki. Now, in order for us to explain the role regular Ki plays in One Piece, all we really gotta do is just learn what Chi is referred to in real life. Chi is vibrating in constant energetic motion within all things. At first glance, you might think that Chi could be some serious religious Chinese mumbo jumbo, but whether you believe in divine or spirituality, or no matter what your faith is, we can all agree that everything vibrates. Even scientists will confirm this. I expect when Vegapunk is introduced, he will speak much of vibrations and frequencies to explain not just Haki, but devil fruits as well. I too will try to explain what role devil fruits will play in all of this. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. So far I quoted the Chi Encyclopedia twice now, and both times I uttered the words, all things. This term you'll see quite often in One Piece. 2 specific terms that should come to mind is the breath of all things and the voice of all things. I believe these 2 terms is what separates regular Ki from Haki. Chi literally means breath. When Zoro entered a state where he could hear the breath of all things, he could hear breathing from things such as a rock, which clearly isn't a living being. What I believe was him describing hearing a breath was him developing a sense that would allow him to detect frequencies of the rock's vibration. Now, we already detect frequencies and molecular structures with our regular 5 senses, but it's so mundane that we don't imagine it as such.
Everything that you observe with your physical senses is vibrational interpretation. In other words, you hear because your ears translate vibration. You see because your eyes translate vibration. You smell because your nose translates vibration. Your fingertips are translating vibration. Your tongue is translating vibration. All of your senses are about the translation of vibration, and that's why you are able to perceive your environment in the way that you do.
This extra sense Zoro experience is different. It's like being able to directly and accurately sense how many protons, neutrons, and electrons are in an object, and the rate at which those molecules and compounds vibrate. Or you can just say, he's detecting spiritual matter. The physical and spiritual are two sides of the same coin after all. Speaking of spirit, did you know that it comes from the Latin word spiritus, which also means breath? Although, doesn't Haki also mean spirit? In that case, does it also mean that everything is Haki or has Haki? Yes, it does, but before you try to wrap your head around that, think about ki being their breath and Haki being their voice. Everything has a normal amount of ki, aka spirit, aka life force. Thus, in a sense, everything is living. Now, we've already learned from Rayleigh that all living things had Haki, but we didn't realize at the time that it wasn't just animals, but includes things such as a rock and all other inanimate objects. In order to talk, you must use your voice. In order to use your voice, you must breathe. Preferably you're exhaling while you're speaking. However loud the voice is will determine how much Haki it has. Once again, using a rock as an example, they are inanimate objects with not much of a will or a consciousness. As a result, rocks would have almost an unhearable voice, thus would have negligible Haki, but just enough that you can hear its breathing. A tree is a plant. You might hear more than just breathing. You can hear a heartbeat as well. A tree would have more detectable Haki than a rock. A snake is an animal, obviously more lively than a tree. You can expect it to have much louder voice, which also means more Haki. Humans have the most powerful voice of all, thus the most powerful Haki. Now let's apply this knowledge to put together a little theory. Okay, so piggybacking off of my cursed blade theory, in which I imply that there's Haki imbued in the blade that comes from the blacksmith, which gives the sword its own presence. I will now propose that it is Haki imbued within the poneglyphs left by their original creators that leaves a voice for Roger to hear using the technique known as the voice of all things. And what do you know, cursed blades and poneglyphs are both made in Wano. Wow, what a shocker. Okay, so that explains all the supernatural elements of One Piece. Psych, you can't talk about the supernatural One Piece without talking about devil fruits. Also, I didn't even talk about the 3 different types of Haki abilities. This is just the beginning. I have 3 more videos planned. Stay tuned for when I talk about the relationship between Haki and devil fruits. That's it for Food for Thought. I made it short and sweet, but if you'd like to hear me elaborate more, then stick around for the secret ending. Would like Food for Thought? Then check out the rest of my channel. Want to see some actually well thought out analysis and theories with a bunch of evidence to back them up? Well, then check out my series Deep Dive. Thanks for watching. So originally this was going to be in my video essay, Deep Dive Case Doflamingo, but it was turning out to be too long. Then I planned it to be its own separate video. Then that turned into 4 different videos. As you can tell, I'm having a lot of fun with this topic. I was already going to make a video similar to part 3 of this video series, which will be covering Conqueror's Haki. So in the end it was inevitable, and it's just working itself out really. If you've been following me, you probably already know about Deep Dive and Case Doflamingo, but if you haven't, here's a clip from the intro. Don Quixote Doflamingo, an antagonist introduced in chapter 283, finally defeated well over 500 chapters later, and even in the present story, still has lingering effects that persist to be major issues. With that much time and planning dedicated to one character, I believe there's a lot more to be seen of Mr. Don Quixote beyond the surface level. In this case, we're going to be taking a deep dive into Doflamingo, the Don Quixotes, and One Piece at large.